Your team asks the same questions 3 times a week. Where's the onboarding document? How do I handle client X? Where's the template for that? And every time someone has to go through Google Drive or Slack to find it. Most agencies think the problem is just a file structure. It's not. The problem is the documents aren't connected. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up your Google Drive and organize your files so your team can find them in seconds. And I'll show you how to make it even smarter with AI. So what we implemented was a system that looks kind of like this. So on Google Drive, we just have a really simple process where there are, for the most part, no folders. And you see every document has a number and a structure. But the key here is not the number and structure, so don't get hung up on that. What we did was we really implemented this master spreadsheet that puts together kind of an indexing of every document. Now at Eaton Corporation, we did something similar using SAP, which is a file management software, which is way more complex and not worth it unless you're enterprise. And so basically what we're doing here is we have a few things that we have to answer, and it'll give us that fancy name for the folder. So this just adds everything together and you get a really organized structure. So I want to show you this because there's some nuances that are really important, but I do have the free download below so you can get your own version, so you can work through this together and you can use it in your own business. But the first thing, and honestly one of the most important things, is just a number for each document going in order from 0 to infinity. So these are specifically documents for the Founder Systems AI course and community, which my team has access to and the community members have access to. But the idea here is to make it really easy to find things. So we have a number, and the reason why we have the number is, again, look, if I'm looking for document 30 in here, so let's just say I want document 30, whatever that is, I'm going to come in, I'm going to look, and then document 30 literally just appears. It was super quick and I had an indexing. So the next piece here is status. Status is super important because we want to know if it's active, if it's currently being used, maybe a team member left and we're not doing that process anymore, or maybe it's an old software that we're no longer using, but we wanted to archive it just in case. And then needs to be updated is the similar thing. Maybe it's a year old, which is our process. Every year these should be looked at and updated. So it just needs to be updated. And then you'll see that there is an individual owner. So it's not the founder needs to update it. It's whoever owns that document, whoever owns that value proposition needs to update that. The next piece in here is what type of document is it? So this is super simple to adjust for your company. For us, we use things like knowledge base, which could be FAQs, software SOPs, task-based SOPs, flowcharts, which are just more information about how everything works together, transcripts of actual videos. So part of what we're doing here is we build out the AI knowledge bases from our structure here. So we actually grab any video and we take the transcript in there. And then what department is it affecting? So view departments as what you would typically put into folders. So if you were to really go in to organize your folders and make all these crazy rules, you might have a folder for marketing, you might have a folder for ops, you might have a folder for HR, and then in those would be subfolders of knowledge or whatever, that however you want to structure that. But this just gets rid of all of that. And so you'll just come in here and we'll know that, this is HR, this is marketing, this is ops, this is senior management filing, this is our business development representatives. So it just organizes it further, so that way I could come in here and filter and say, what are all my sales documents? And I just come in here and clear and then select sales, done. Boom, I have 2 sales documents in here. And then I can go back and select all. So it really helps break this down to more kind of chunks that are easily digestible. So as you have things that need to be updated, it's super simple. Then your title in here is very critical as well, because not only do you want people to be able to find it, because again, the whole idea here is not a file structure, but the organization. So you want to use things like as transactional as possible. So things that if I was going to go search this, what would I actually look for? So don't use slang and things like that. Try to just, could you think about this as a title and put it there? So a lot of these samples and descriptions we have down below. So things like the time study, you can actually grab that template down below. And what we do here is we have the title and then you can link to it as the URL right here, but we just actually link to that file. So if you come in here, here's our time study. It was that simple. I found it, I pulled it up. I didn't even have to go to this master folder. And that's what I mean by connected, is my team can have access to this one document and they can find every single document they need access to. But hang on till the end because I'll show you an even easier way to connect it all. Other things we do in here, for Founder Systems AI, we teach how to solve bottlenecks in our business. So we have another template on that. We have daily SOPs, which again, you can grab for free down below. But this really just shows you how to set up and hire a new person. But again, all connected. So when we hire a new person, my team is required to fill out a daily SOP for them. So they know that they can just come to this document, find the daily SOP and fill it out. So very simple process. Now, the next thing you'll see here is owner. Of course, this is a course, so I'm making most of these documents, so I own them. But if you have an HR director, they'll own their document, which means they're responsible for keeping it up to date. So your sales director, your business development representative director, if you have SOPs that are owned by specific employees, it'll be tied to them. So that is the magic, is everything is kind of a living machine that gets updated. And for our company, our team is required to update all of their documents annually as part of their bonus and raise process. So it's just one of our checklists, is part of our standard operating procedure. Hey, are all your documents up to date? So it makes it really easy to make sure that this is a living process that's built into the actual business. Date, of course, again, that's part of our auditing process. So every year we require them to be audited. So if this was now 2 years old, we'd come in here and this would automatically change to needs to be updated. So super simple, very visual. You can have one person audit it, you can audit it yourself. And then basically, again, you get this full file name right here. And then I have a little shortcut to the actual raw files, which no one really needs. And you can, the nice thing with Google Drive is you can control permissions back and forth in here. So if you look at some of these, you can add editors, you can add viewers only. My full team has access to view this folder. Only a few people have access to edit that folder. And then to add new documents, we actually created just a Google form where they put in the information and it automatically creates that document and puts it in here. And the reason why we use Google was because the infrastructure we were already working. Now, I did promise that we're going to show you how to connect even quicker to these documents, and that's really the magic. So let's jump back in. So before, we had this scattered system where no one knew the answers, and I'm going to show you even quicker how we did that. The biggest thing were time. Files had to be recreated. We literally couldn't find files. It was just very frustrating. And then our result is that we are able to find files in less than 10 seconds. And I'm going to show you how. Outside of this being quick, if you had 1,000 documents in here, not the quickest anymore. So we use an integration with Slack, and I'll show you right now. So one of the questions I had before was, how do I onboard a client? So in Slack, we use this integration. We take all of our documents, upload them into an AI knowledge base, and then in Slack, the team can literally use the tools they're already using. I can ask, how do I onboard a client as an AE? And boom, it's gonna have the exact answer. And if the answer is incorrect, we have a process on how to update it, but also it links to the correct SOPs. So you'll see that it actually references the documents that are telling them how to do that. And in Slack, I don't have live links, but we have another place where you can actually grab those live links. And again, it links right into this master document. So super powerful. And you went from not being able to find the document to being able to find the answer within seconds. So it is just a huge, huge time save. And the biggest thing here, again, is you have a smarter team that can make faster decisions, that can work without you, and they don't rely on the owners and the founders and even the managers to run and operate that business. Stop losing 10 hours a week to where's that doc questions. Your team doesn't need more tools. They need one system that actually works. If you want to build this into your business and scale without being the bottleneck, check out Founder Systems AI, where we have the templates, framework, and a community of founders doing exactly this. Link in the description.